Hello students, today we are going to talk about ocean. Let me just first tell you that the oceans form the biggest environment for wildlife, namely any wildlife that lives in the ocean calls ocean its home, as we call our planet home, where we live. For wildlife on the planet, most organisms live near, pay attention to the word near, the sunlight surface, especially in shallow water near land, where the water is rich in food, but some animals are able to live in the ocean depths, where there is no light and very little to eat. Now, as you can imagine, oceans in general have these inhabitants. As you can see, some of it are here, and some of them I'll show you later. It's like nurse shark, sea moth, white reef shark, tiger shark, blue spotted ribbon-tailed ray, tiger prawn, and other different animals that live there. As you can see that they inhabit ocean. As you can imagine, it's also their home, as you know it already. There's also octopus, krill, and other inhabitants, as you can see. And there is also giant squid. Squid, incidentally, it's also almost like octopus, but smaller. And mostly orcas, I heard, eat them too. They also serve as food, and it's like a circle of life. One feeds on the other to survive. So everything has a connection in the ocean. Now let's continue our journey further through the ocean. Now let me just show you other parts that I also would like you to know. Where on earth we see oceans. Now this is very important. Let me magnify it for you so you can see it better. As you can see here, where on earth? The 5 connected oceans cover more than 2/3 of the planet. The biggest ocean is Pacific. Now, while the smallest is Arctic at the North Pole, the Atlantic extends all the way from the Arctic to the Southern Ocean around Antarctica. All the oceans, whether cold or warm, are teeming with life. Teeming with life, as I already showed you here. It can be octopus or boxfish or stonefish. All these animals, they live there. Now let's continue our journey further. Let's look at animals' relationships. Now they're connected in a way that creates a lot of possibilities for connection, and these connections are very stark and obvious, as everything depends on the other. There is nothing out of place with the ocean. Now let's look at it. Let me show it to you better. The oceans are full of dangers, so some animals join forces to improve their chances of survival. Others tag along with larger animals to feast on scraps of food that their big partners ignore. Now, let's see clownfish. I'm not going to get into that in much detail because you can already see it. The clownfish and anemones. As we already covered earlier, the stinging tentacles of big sea anemones do not affect the clownfish, but they protect it from predators. That's why they hide there. Or manta ray as well. As you can see here, that a sucker on its head here, the remora to cling to big fish, like this manta ray as they cruise the oceans. Now, everything has a connection, or even boxer crab and anemones. This tiny tropical crab holds a stinging sea anemone in each claw. It uses them for defense, to stun prey. Can you see how amazing and unimaginable it is? Now let's continue our journey. Groups of fish. Now, this is even more important that you pay attention to this. Many open water fish travel in big groups called shoals or schools. Not like the school we go to, but it's a different, same word but different meaning. Living together like this makes it difficult for big hunters such as sharks to pick out individual fish. Now, they all live and stay together in this way to survive. As you can see here, I showed you all the way down to the bottom. Next one, as we continue our journey through the ocean, black smokers. It's a very interesting thing, and I'll explain it to you because this is very important and I see it as a key point in my lesson with you. In some of the deepest parts of the ocean, water seeps into the ocean floor and is heated by hot volcanic rock. The hot water forms a spring on the ocean floor, which erupts. As the hot water hits the cold sea, the minerals turn into solid particles that build up, form smoking chimneys. Now, as you know what chimney is, it's something that we have on our houses in villages, but this one is different, but it looks like it. Up to 55 meters or 180 feet, if you know that, feet high. Amazingly, there are unique animals, including some tube worms that can survive this extreme heat. Now, you can see how incredible nature is at its best. Now, let's just look at each individual angle of it so we can look at it better. Let me just magnify it for you so you can see it. Yeah, there you go. Erupting smoke here, mineral chimney, as I mentioned earlier. Animal life, that's where the area that sustains life, such as animals of the kind I mentioned earlier, can live there. Cold seawater, it's in blue, and heated water, which is underneath, like that way. Actually, this one, the cold water, is a bit darkish here, you can see, and underneath there it's cold, heated water. Now, that's just what it looks like. Let me just move to another page. It's very important that you see other animals that live there, and those animals, like huge, big life, can live here. Now let's see better. The big visitors, they call them, the animals that live on the reefs attract big hunters, such as giant groupers, sharks, and dolphins. Now, sharks are the most dangerous, I would say. Dolphins, not so much. These usually hunt in the deeper channels between the corals. Sea turtles may visit to lay their eggs in the coral sand of the lagoon beaches. Now, as you see, the turtles, when they lay eggs, their eggs, when the turtles come out, they get eaten also by seagulls, and really, life is like, with animals, is very short-lived, but some might survive, make it to the water, and they survive there. Now, types of reefs. Now, next one is reefs. Many reefs grow around islands, forming fringes of coral, and remember that coral, in the shallow water. Now, shallow means not so deep. If an island is an extinct volcano, it gradually sinks, while the reef keeps growing upwards. This creates a barrier reef. Eventually, the island sinks from sight, leaving coral atoll at the top. Now, next one, let's look at it. This tropical volcanic island, as you can see here, surrounded by a fringing reef. The extinct volcano slowly starts to sink. Next one, the island sinks, but coral keeps growing. Now, I'm not going to go too much into detail. Let's just look at each individual part. Like here, reef encloses a shallow central lagoon. Now, let's move on to another part, as we have something else to cover. Here, it's coral reef. As we covered, you see that ocean is very much connected with everything. that's in there. Nothing is out of balance and everything is connected. Again, thank you so much for your time, and this is where we end our class talking about oceans and a little bit about reefs. Thank you so much for inviting me to your home. See you very soon. Have a nice day. Goodbye.